Everyone knows the story of the rejected mate. The Omega cast aside by her cruel Alpha, left broken, alone, forced to rebuild herself from the ashes of his rejection. But that's not my story. I'm Lyra Ashwood, and I'm the one who said no. It happened on a Tuesday, which feels absurdly mundane for something that was supposed to change my entire life. Alpha King Kael Stormborn came to our territory, the Ashwood Pack, on official business. A treaty negotiation, something political that I honestly wasn't paying attention to. I was training in the yard when he arrived, sparring with my beta, covered in dirt and sweat. I didn't even know he'd entered the compound until I felt it. The mate bond. It hit me like lightning, stealing my breath. A golden thread snapping into place, connecting me to him. The massive Alpha King standing at the edge of the training yard, staring at me with ice-gray eyes that had gone wide with recognition. He felt it too. For a moment, everything stopped. The entire pack seemed to hold its breath. Kael Stormborn, the most powerful alpha in the Northern Territories, the king who commanded a dozen packs, had just found his mate. And it was me. Lyra Ashwood, daughter of a minor pack's beta, nobody special, just a fighter who'd worked her way up through skill and determination. He walked toward me, confident, purposeful, like he owned the ground he walked on. Maybe he did. "You," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "You're my mate." Not a question, a statement, like it was already decided. I pulled myself to my feet, very aware that I was covered in training dirt while he stood there in his formal Alpha King attire. Black, expensive, intimidating. "Lyra," I said, because apparently he hadn't bothered to ask my name. "Lyra Ashwood." "Lyra," he repeated, and I hated how my name sounded in his mouth. Rich, possessive. "Pack your things, we leave for my territory in an hour." I blinked. "Excuse me." "You're my mate. You'll come live in my pack as Luna Queen. We'll complete the bond ceremony within the week." He said it like he was reading off a checklist. Mate, found. Next task, claim. "You're not serious." His brow furrowed. "Of course I'm serious. The bond has chosen us. There's nothing to discuss." "There's everything to discuss," I said, feeling my temper rise. "You don't know anything about me. You haven't asked what I want, where I want to live, what my life is here." "Your life is with me now," he interrupted, his alpha authority bleeding into his voice. It made my wolf want to submit, want to roll over and accept. I pushed back against it, hard. "No." He looked genuinely confused. "No. No, I'm not packing my things. No, I'm not leaving in an hour. No, I'm not going to be ordered around like I'm some acquisition you just made." A ripple went through the watching pack. You didn't say no to Alpha King Kael Stormborn. But I just had. His eyes narrowed. "The mate bond." "The mate bond doesn't make me your property," I said, keeping my voice level despite my racing heart. "It means we're compatible. That's all. It doesn't mean I have no say in what happens to my life." "You're being unreasonable." "I'm being honest." I stepped closer, meeting his eyes even though my wolf whimpered at challenging an Alpha King. "You walked over here, told me to pack my things, and expected me to comply without question. You didn't ask my name until I gave it. You don't know what I do, what I want, what matters to me. You just know the bond says we're mates, and you assume that's enough." "It should be enough," he said, but there was uncertainty creeping into his voice now. "Well, it's not." I took a breath. "I reject you, Kael Stormborn. I reject the mate bond." The words hung in the air like a bomb. His face went through several expressions. Shock, disbelief, anger, denial. "You can't," he started. "I can, and I just did." I could feel the bond fraying, my wolf howling in protest, but I held firm. "The moon goddess might not give us a choice in who we're compatible with, but I have a choice in how I'm treated. And I won't be with someone who sees me as a thing to be claimed rather than a person to be known." I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard someone, my alpha, probably trying to explain, to smooth things over, to make excuses for my emotional reaction. I didn't care. I just rejected the mate bond, with the most powerful alpha in the realm. And I'd do it again. The next 3 days were chaos. Kael left my territory, but the damage was done. Word spread fast. Lyra Ashwood rejected the Alpha King. Some thought I was brave, most thought I was insane. My own pack didn't know what to do with me. "You rejected him," my father said for the 10th time, packing in our small house. "You rejected the Alpha King." "He was arrogant and dismissive," I said calmly. "He treated me like property." "He's the Alpha King, Lyra. Do you understand what you've done? The alliances you've damaged, the insult you've given?" I gave no insult. I simply said no. Mates don't say no. This one did. I met my father's eyes. And I'd do it again. I won't be with someone who doesn't respect me, not even if the moon goddess herself picked him. My father looked like he wanted to argue more, but he just sighed, suddenly looking old and tired. "What's done is done. We'll deal with the consequences." But the consequences weren't what anyone expected. 3 days after I rejected him, Kael sent a messenger. A young wolf, nervous, carrying an ornate box. "From Alpha King Stormborn," the messenger said, practically shaking. "For Lady Lyra Ashwood." I opened the box. Inside was a necklace, diamonds and sapphires, clearly worth more than my entire house. There was a note, "For my mate, Kay." I closed the box and handed it back to the messenger. "Return this with my compliments. Tell the Alpha King I'm not his mate. I rejected that bond." The messenger looked terrified. I can't return this. He'll be furious." "Then tell him I donated it to the Pack Orphans Fund. They'll get more use from it than I will." I did exactly that. Sold the necklace, gave the money to the orphanage. When Kael heard, he sent another gift. Then another, then another. I returned, or donated every single one. He didn't understand. Thought I was playing hard to get. Thought I'd come around if he just showed me his wealth, his power, his status. He still didn't get it. I didn't want his things. I wanted his respect. And he wasn't offering that. Weeks passed, then months. I threw myself into my training, into my work with the pack. I was good at what I did, tracking, fighting, strategy. My alpha noticed and promoted me to beta's second, which meant I was actually running operations for a lot of our patrols. I was busy, fulfilled, happy even. I didn't need a mate to be complete. Especially not one who still sent gifts and messages like I was a conquest, to be one rather than a person to be known. His latest message, delivered by yet another nervous messenger, read, "Lyra, you've made your point. I understand you want to be courted properly. I'm willing to give you time. But we are mates, and eventually you'll accept that. Kael." I crumpled the letter and threw it in the fire. He still didn't understand. "You know," my best friend Myra said, watching me burn his letter, "he's not going to give up. Then he's wasting his time." "Is he, though?" Myra leaned against the wall. "You can reject the bond, but you're still connected. You still feel it, don't you?" I did. Even severed, the bond hummed in the background. A constant reminder of what could have been if he'd been different, if he'd seen me as an equal instead of a prize. "Feeling it doesn't mean I have to accept it," I said. "No," Myra agreed. "But it does mean you're tied to him whether you want to be or not. And Lyra, he's the Alpha King. He doesn't take rejection well. He'll have to learn." Myra smiled. "Gods, you're stubborn. It's one of your best qualities." "Thanks. Also one of your worst." I laughed despite myself. "I know." That night, as I lay in bed, I felt the bond pulse. Kael was thinking about me, maybe even dreaming about me. I wondered if he was dreaming about the real me, or just the idea of me, the perfect mate he'd constructed in his head. I suspected the latter. And that was why I'd never accept him. 2 months after the rejection, Kael showed up at my territory again. I was on patrol, my favorite duty, checking the northern border when I caught his scent. Pine and thunderstorms, unmistakable. I sighed and continued walking. "Lyra," his voice came from behind me. "Wait. I'm on patrol, Alpha King. I don't have time for social calls." I'm not here for a social call. He fell into step beside me, and I hated how natural it felt, how right despite everything. I'm here to see you. Why? Because you're my mate. We've been over this, I said tiredly. I rejected that bond. The bond can't be fully rejected, he said. Not between true mates. You can deny it, but it's still there. I feel you, Lyra, every day, every night. I know you feel me too. I did. God's help me, I did. Feeling the bond doesn't change anything, I said. You still don't know me. You still treat this like it's some business arrangement to be finalized. Then let me know you. He stepped in front of me, forcing me to stop. Tell me what you want, what matters to you. Let me prove I can be what you need. I studied him. He looked tired, thinner than before, like maybe he hadn't been sleeping well. Good. What I want, I said slowly, is respect, agency, a partner, not a master. I can give you that. Can you? I challenged. Because so far, all you've done is send expensive gifts and write letters telling me I'll eventually accept you. That's not respect. That's you waiting for me to fall in line. His jaw tightened. What do you want me to do? Stop, I said simply. Stop pursuing me like I'm a goal to achieve. Stop sending gifts. Stop showing up unannounced. Stop acting like my rejection is just an obstacle to overcome. You want me to give up? I want you to listen. I held his gaze. I don't want the Alpha King. I don't want the powerful ruler with a dozen packs under his command. I don't want the wealthy male who can shower me with diamonds. Those things don't matter to me. Then what do you want? I want someone who sees me, not the mate bond, not the political advantage, not the perfect Luna he's imagined. Me, Lyra, the woman who likes tracking better than politics, who'd rather spar than attend ceremonies, who doesn't care about wealth or status. I took a breath. And I want someone who would respect my choice to reject them without assuming I'll eventually change my mind. Kael was quiet for a long moment. Then quietly, you really don't want me. I don't want what you've shown me so far, I corrected. The arrogant Alpha King who expected obedience. The male who tried to buy me with gifts. The ruler who can't conceive that someone might say no to him. What if I could be different? Could you? I asked honestly. Or would you just be pretending until I accepted you? He didn't have an answer for that. I continued my patrol. He didn't follow. Life went on. I stopped receiving gifts and messages from Kael. At first, I thought it was a strategy, make me miss the attention, perhaps. But weeks passed, then a month, and nothing. He'd listened, actually listened. I told myself I was relieved. I threw myself deeper into my work. My Alpha was impressed with my abilities and named me Beta officially. At 24, I was the youngest Beta our pack had ever had. I was proud. This was mine. Earned through my own merit, not given because of who I was bonded to. Other males in the pack started showing interest. I went on a few dates. They were fine, nice wolves, respectful, kind. But there was no spark, no connection. I told myself that was okay. I didn't need that. The mate bond whispered otherwise, pulsing faintly in my chest like a second heartbeat. Kael's heartbeat. Then, 3 months after his last visit, I heard news from a traveling merchant. Alpha King Kael Stormborn had been seen in the Southern Territories. Alone. No entourage, no ceremony. He was visiting small packs, border territories, places an Alpha King normally wouldn't bother with. Strange, my Alpha mused at dinner. What do you think he's doing, Lyra? I didn't know, and I told myself I didn't care. But I did. Against my better judgment, I did. 2 weeks later, Kael showed up again. I was in the training yard, where else, when I felt him arrive. That pull of the bond, stronger now somehow. I turned to find him standing at the gate. He looked different, less formal. He wore simple traveling clothes, his hair longer, tied back. He had new scars I didn't remember. And he waited, didn't approach, just stood there until I acknowledged him. I walked over slowly. Alpha King. Lyra, he inclined his head respectfully. Not a command, not an assumption, just respect. May I speak with you? You are speaking with me." His lips quirked. "May I speak with you somewhere private?" I considered refusing, but curiosity won. "Fine, this way." I led him away from the yard, to the forest edge where we wouldn't be overheard. The bond hummed between us, warm and insistent. "You wanted to talk," I said. "I wanted to apologize." He met my eyes. "Truly apologize, not just say words. You were right, Lyra, about all of it. I was arrogant, dismissive. I treated you like property, like something to be acquired. And when you rejected me, I didn't respect that. I kept pushing, kept assuming you'd change your mind, kept acting like your no was just an obstacle." I said nothing, waiting. "I've spent the last 3 months traveling," he continued. "Visiting packs I'd never bothered with before. Small ones, border territories, places with wolves who don't have power or status. I listened to their problems. I actually helped with their work, hunting, patrolling, building. Things I haven't done since I became Alpha King." "Why?" I asked. "Because you told me I didn't see people. I saw positions, roles, uses, and you were right." He looked pained. "I've been Alpha King since I was 22. For 8 years, everyone I've met has either wanted something from me or feared me. No one tells me no. No one challenges me. Everyone defers, submits, agrees. Except me. Except you." Something that might have been admiration flickered in his eyes. "You're the only person in a decade who's looked me in the eye and told me I was wrong. The only one who's demanded I be better. And instead of listening, I tried to bully you into submission with wealth and status." He took a breath. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. I certainly don't deserve you. But I wanted you to know I heard you. Finally. And I'm trying to be better, not to win you back. But because you were right and I was wrong, and I needed to change regardless of whether you ever accept me." I studied him. He looked genuine, uncertain, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen from the arrogant Alpha King who'd first walked into my life. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked quietly. "Because you deserve to know, and because," he hesitated, "because even though I have no right to ask, I wanted to see you, to know if you're happy, if you're well." "I am," I said honestly. "I'm beta now. I run patrols, manage security. I'm good at it. I'm content." "You deserve more than content." "Maybe, but I get to decide what that more is. Not the mate bond, not fate me." "I know," he smiled sadly. "And I respect that, which is why I'm leaving now. I won't bother you again, Lyra. You've made your choice and I'll honor it." He turned to go. "Kael," I called. He stopped, looked back. "Thank you," I said, "for listening, finally." He nodded and walked away. And I stood there, feeling the bond pull taut as he left, wondering why his respect felt heavier than his pursuit ever had. 1 week later, everything changed. The rogues hit us at dawn. Not just a few dozens, organized, coordinated. They struck our northern and southern borders simultaneously, overwhelming our patrols. I was leading the northern defense when I realized this wasn't a random attack. This was planned. "They're trying to break through to the central village," I shouted to my fighters. "We can't let them." But there were too many. We were being pushed back. I sent a desperate message through pack bonds. "We need reinforcements, now." And then I felt it, through the mate bond cutting across distance, Kael. He was close, had been somewhere nearby. I didn't have time to wonder why. I had rogues to fight. I took down 3, 4, 5, lost count. Blood and chaos everywhere. One of my warriors fell, then another. We were losing. Then I heard the howl. Deep, powerful, commanding, an alpha's howl. Kael's howl. He burst from the tree line in his wolf form, massive, silver-gray, terrifying. Behind him, a dozen of his elite warriors. He'd come. The battle turned instantly. Kael fought like a demon, his warriors coordinated and brutal. The rogues began to retreat. But their leader, a huge, scarred brute, wasn't done. He charged straight for me, seeing an opening. I raised my guard, but I was exhausted, injured. I wouldn't be fast enough. Kael intercepted. He took the rogue's claws meant for me, the blow ripping across his side. He howled in pain, but didn't let go, dragging the rogue down and ending him with a vicious bite. Then Kael collapsed. No, I was at his side in seconds, shifting to human form. Kael, stay with me. He shifted too, blood pouring from the gashes on his side. His eyes found mine. You're safe. I'm fine, you idiot. Why did you? I pressed my hands to his wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. Couldn't let him hurt you, he managed. You could have died. Worth it, he smiled weakly. You're worth it, Lyra, even if you never accept the bond, you're worth it. Shut up and save your strength. I looked around wildly. Healer, I need a healer now. Our pack healer came running. Between us, we stabilized him enough to transport him to the medical house. I didn't leave his side. For 2 days, Kael lay unconscious while his body fought to heal. I stayed in the chair beside his bed, watching his chest rise and fall, feeling the mate bond flutter weakly. He'd almost died, for me. Not because of the mate bond, not because I was his to protect, but because he valued my life, my safety. He'd respected my rejection and still come when I needed him. My father visited on the 2nd day. He's still here, he observed. He's still unconscious, I corrected. I meant you. My father pulled up another chair. You've been here since he arrived. He saved my life, and our pack. The least I can do is make sure he survives. Is that all it is? I didn't answer. My father sighed. I was wrong, when you rejected him. I thought you were throwing away a gift, but you weren't. You were demanding respect, and somehow, impossibly, you got it. He changed, I said quietly. He did, for you. My father studied me. The question is, now that he has, what will you do? I looked at Kael's still face, at the bandages covering wounds he'd taken for me. I don't know, I admitted. But that wasn't quite true. I was starting to know. I just wasn't ready to admit it yet. Kael woke on the 3rd day. His eyes opened slowly, confused, then focused on me. Lyra, he rasped. Don't try to sit up, I said quickly. You're still healing. The rogues. Dead or scattered. You broke their attack. My pack is safe. He relaxed slightly, then seemed to realize where he was. How long have I been here? 3 days. You've been here the whole time. Not a question. He could probably feel it through the bond. You took claws meant for me, I said. The least I could do was make sure you didn't die. I wouldn't have, he said with a small smile. I'm too stubborn. Apparently. We were quiet for a moment. Then he said softly, I wasn't nearby by accident. I raised an eyebrow. No, I've been staying close, camping in the neutral territory between your pack and mine, just close enough to feel you through the bond, to know you were okay. He looked almost embarrassed. I know I said I'd leave you alone, but I couldn't leave entirely, couldn't break the connection completely, so I stayed close. And when I felt the attack through the bond, felt your fear. You came, I finished. I came. His eyes met mine. I'll always come, Lyra, whether you accept the bond or not, whether you want me or not. If you need me, I'll be there. My throat felt tight. That's not fair. What's not fair? You're making it really hard to keep rejecting you. Something hopeful flickered in his expression. Is that what you still want, to reject me? I looked at him, really looked at him. At the male who'd been arrogant and controlling, who I'd rejected. But also at the male who'd listened, who'd changed, who'd respected my choice even when it hurt him. Who'd taken claws meant for me without hesitation. I don't know, I said honestly. You've changed, I can see that. But Kael, change is easy when you're trying to win someone back. What I need to know is if you'll stay changed after, if this is real or if it's just a strategy. It's real, he said immediately. Lyra, that male you rejected 3 months ago, he doesn't exist anymore. You killed him when you said no. You forced me to look at myself and I hated what I saw, arrogant, entitled, dismissive of anyone I deemed beneath me. He shifted, wincing, and I moved to help him sit up more comfortably. Our hands brushed and the bond sparked. We both felt it. I can't promise I'm perfect, he continued. I'm still an alpha king. I still have responsibilities, authority, power. But I can promise that I'll never again treat you like property. That I'll always see you as an equal. That your no will always mean no, and your yes will be a gift I'll never take for granted. I wanted to believe him. Gods, I wanted to. What do you want from me? I asked. Nothing you're not willing to give, he said simply. But if you're asking what I hope for a chance, not to claim you, not to own you, but to court you, properly. To earn your trust, your respect, and maybe, if I'm incredibly lucky, your love. That could take time. I have time. Months, years even. I'm immortal, Lyra. I have centuries. I'll wait as long as it takes. I smiled despite myself. That's very dramatic. I'm a dramatic person, he smiled back. Ask anyone who knows me. I did reject you, formally. I know. If we do this, if I give you a chance, it's not me accepting the mate bond. Not yet, maybe not ever. It's me agreeing to let you court me. As Lyra, not as your fated mate. I understand. And if at any point you revert to that arrogant alpha king behavior, you'll kick me out and I'll deserve it, he finished. I studied him for another long moment, then made my decision. One date, I said. You get one date to show me you mean what you say. His face lit up like I'd given him the world. One date, when? After you heal. I'm not going on a date with someone who can't walk without bleeding everywhere. He laughed, then winced. Fair enough, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I agreed. And against all odds, I found myself looking forward to it. It took 6 months. 6 months of careful courtship. Of him showing up and asking, not telling, if I wanted to spend time together. Of him listening when I talked about my work, my dreams, my fears. Of him sharing his own vulnerabilities in return. 6 months of dates that were actually about getting to know each other, not just going through the motions of courtship. 6 months of him proving over and over again that he'd changed, that he respected me, that he saw me, Lyra, not just his mate. We'd had fights, moments when his alpha king authority crept back in and I had to remind him who he was dealing with. Times when I pushed him away because trusting him scared me. But he'd stayed, patient, consistent, real. And slowly, impossibly, I'd fallen for him. Not because of the mate bond, because of who he'd become, who he'd chosen to be. We stood now in the forest between our territories, in the clearing where we'd fought the rogues all those months ago. Are you sure? He asked for the 10th time. I'm sure, I said. Because if you're not ready. Kael, I touched his face. I'm sure, I want this, I want you. Not because of the bond. Not because of the bond, I confirmed. Because of you, the male who listened when I said no, the male who changed, the male who proved every single day that I was worth the effort. He closed his eyes, breathing out slowly. I don't deserve you. Probably not, I agreed with a smile. But you've earned me, and that's what matters. I leaned up and kissed him, properly, for the first time. The mate bond, dormant for months, roared to life. Golden light surrounded us as I accepted what I'd rejected, not because I had to, but because I chose to. Because some bonds aren't given by fate. Some bonds are earned. And those are the ones that last forever. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. I love you, Lyra Ashwood. I love you too, Kael Stormborn. And this time, it was real. Not because the moon goddess chose us, but because we chose each other.